Genshin Impact players, let's have a conversation. I know this video is going to make a lot of people pretty upset. People just want to enjoy the game without other people being critical about it, and that's totally fine. I get it. I personally hate when other people give negative feedback on a game that I love, but just know that everything that I'm about to say comes from a place of love for Genshin Impact, and that I wouldn't be saying these things if I didn't want the game to be better and if I didn't love the game for what it is already. I'm also not quitting by any means. I just want to talk about why other players are leaving and why Genshin Impact has been receiving so much negative criticism lately. So if you do live in a bubble, you may have not heard anything about this, and this is totally fine. So I know I'm not the only one feeling this way. A lot of other content creators and a lot of players have expressed their concerns on both polls, in video forums, Reddit, and things like that. Essentially, 1.6 has a ton of new stuff coming our way, but a lot of people are not satisfied with it. So what's new in 1.6? We have a boating event. That's a pretty cool new mechanic. We have character skins. We have Kazuha, who's going to be a new playable character. We have a new Archon quest, which is something we are all looking forward to. We have a new free weapon that's going to be obtainable through an event, which is awesome for free-to-play players as usual. New area, teapot updates for quality of life, and a new boss fight. On paper, that all seems like a lot of stuff to do, and a lot of people are excited for it, but what is actually permanent content? The boating event is temporary. You're not going to be able to use the skiff to play these mini games forever. Character skins will be in the shop. I don't know if they're going to be going away after 1.6. My guess is not, but it's not really content. It's just a cosmetic. Archon quest is actually content, and that's something that I'm happy about. New area is actually content, but if it is about the size of Dragonspine, we'll see that fizzle out in a couple days. New boss fight is exciting content. That's something I'm excited about. Teapot update's not really content. The free weapon, not really content. And the two other events that are going to happen this update are not permanent content. So here's the problem, right? In endgame right now, Genshin Impact feels like a completely empty game. Once you've beaten Spiral Abyss, there's basically no more content to the game other than getting on for your daily grind. And what Genshin Impact needs for sustainability is that permanent content. And that's why people are frustrated, because it doesn't feel like there's actually a lot of permanent content in the game. It has just been back-to-back temporary events that make you feel like if you're not completing those events, you're missing out on something, and it pressures you to keep playing, and they're experiencing burnout as a result. Every new patch since the Dragonspine patch has added little permanent content and a ton of temporary content. And temporary content actually does work out just fine if it is not requiring a ton of effort from you. But here's the problem. Right now, Genshin Impact has an identity crisis. You are playing a gacha game, a game that should take little to no effort to play and should be about character collecting. You are playing a game that requires AAA effort for mobile game rewards. To me, that is the crux of burnout. That is why we're experiencing it. Every single event in Genshin is back to back with another, but completely temporary. So the problem is that people end up burning out because they feel the need to compete in every single event. Another part of the issue is that Genshin keeps creating unique minigames which are really amazing and really fun, and lots of people want to play them. Like, I think a lot of people would want to play Windtrace more if it was up for more than just the 2 weeks that it was. But usually to max out the event, you're locked on a timeline and you're looking at a couple hours of heavy playtime on what usually feels like a grind of an event if you're forced to do it back to back and you're on a time crunch. The Windbloom event was one of my favorite events in Genshin Impact because there were so many things to do, but eventually, because there were so many things to do on that time crunch, it started to feel like a chore. And I'm not sure if anyone else identifies with this, but I swear to God, if I have to do another Peculiar Wonderland ever again, I'm gonna lose it. The best event to me was the Dragonspine event. Why? Because it encouraged co-op, it had relevant story, it incentivized you with a weapon instead of resin-gated materials, and it had a cool boss fight. And it just feels like a middle finger to anyone who wanted permanent content. Anyone who's a free-to-play player who joins after that event now can no longer get access to those same resources and that same exposure to the story and all of the characters and the relevant activities that people got to participate in. And I really think that event was one of the best ones they've had because it didn't consume all of your time. You could do it at your own pace to some extent because the event didn't require you to do a ton. It is a gacha game, and these events shouldn't necessarily take you hours upon hours upon hours to complete if they're going to keep having events back to back to back that require all of your attention. But more importantly, why is the Dragonspine event not permanent if it applies to the storyline? Well, the answer to this is pretty simple. Mihoyo wants to keep pulling the player base in. That's why games do events like this. A lot of free-to-play games do it. Destiny 2 does it with the Iron Banner. Other mobile games do it with their events as well. But the difference is that Iron Banner isn't back to back to back. Iron Banner is every once in a while, and then you have the other mobile game events being very easy and simple to complete or very low effort investment. Like in most other mobile games, you're not controlling a 3D character in a 3D space using different kinds of combos in order to maximize things. Usually you're pressing a couple buttons, you can set your phone down down, watch a video, do whatever you want to do, and it's not going to interrupt the gameplay. And again, this comes back to high effort, low rewards, which causes burnout when you're forcing people to do it in a certain amount of time. So maybe right now you're thinking, Brax, there's already so much content, you're complaining about a problem that isn't there, and to some extent, you're kind of right. For a new player, there is a ton of new content, and we can only complain so much since it is a free-to-play game. I'm very thankful that Mihoyo lets us play this game for free, even though it does kind of incentivize us to spend some money here and there. It is ultimately a free-to-play game, and I know a lot of you are going to go comment, if you don't like the game, then quit, and that's fine. I 100% expect this sort of feedback from you guys too, because you love the game, and I love the game too. We are all coming from the same audience. We all want the game to be good, and a lot of us already think it's good. I think we just have different approaches for how we want to see things change. My problem with quitting Genshin Impact in particular, and I'm not trying to quit, I'm definitely not quitting. If you take a break from Genshin Impact, you're constantly missing out on spending resin, you're constantly missing out on temporary events that are coming once every 2 weeks that give you bonus materials, and if you know anything about Genshin Impact in the end game, you know that you need these materials, right? Because resin gates you from farming infinitely, so you have to spend the time to use your resin every day, and you have to spend the time doing these events, otherwise you're going to fall behind in endgame when the newest Spiral Abyss comes out and replaces all of the buffs with a buff that correlates to a new character they're putting out. Essentially what Mihoyo's doing is they're telling players, if you take a break, you're going to fall behind, and that's stressful. What we want to know is when we're going to be able to play the game at our own pace, because if we quit, we fall behind, and if we're already getting to that point as is, right, we're already falling behind even with back-to-back events, and burnout's not making us want to play the game more at all. To be an endgame and do Abyss effectively, especially for lots of players who are new to that content, you have to log in every day. You have to constantly be using your resin. I have played this game every single day since release, and I still don't have a good leveled artifact set for most of my Abyss characters. And that's the nature of RNG, right? We can't complain about the RNG itself, but we can complain about the systems that force us to feel pressured into continually feeding into this other system. And then after you beat Spiral Abyss, then what is there? There's no endgame content because it's all temporary events. It gets to the point where using resin every day feels like a chore, and doing the events is no longer fun. I've honestly just asked people to do the things on my account for me if they're bored, and a lot of them who are newer to Genshin Impact who don't mind the events yet because they haven't gotten to that stage of burnout would love to do it. And again, I'm not ignoring the fact that Genshin Impact is a gacha game. I know that ultimately it comes down to Genshin being a gacha. That's how the model is developed, and a lot of you will probably say you expect too much because it is a gacha. But my counter argument to that is that Mihoyo did it to themselves, right? Mihoyo created a game under a AAA model with gacha systems. That is the problem, right? They took a AAA game open world RPG formula and then they just applied gacha to it, and so you're getting players from all different areas of gaming, and they're all consistently upset with these systems because they limit you so much. They created an open world RPG with high effort gameplay and low rewards. And to make that worse, they have their entire endgame balance system revolve around Spiral Abyss, which is basically all revolving around their newest gacha character, which is not free to play friendly, by the way. It's just the entire model of the game favors the company and not the fan base, and I understand that that is the nature of business, right? They're going to do that, but that's why a lot of people are upset, because they feel pressured to play this game every single day, and they feel like they are not necessarily going anywhere with it because it's all left up to RNG, resin gating, and then if you want another chance to actually potentially be able to clear the highest content, or you want to make sure that you're actually keeping up with endgame and building new characters, you have to do the temporary events. Also, the Archon story quests are awesome. I love the storytelling, but it's honestly not enough permanent content to sustain the game. Games like Final Fantasy XIV, The Witcher 3, honestly, any other open world game has activities that you can do with rewards that don't feel bad to spend your time getting. To me, to many players, and to many other content creators right now, Genshin just feels bad to play. I know the game is supposed to have a 10-year lifespan of story content, but to me, that just makes Genshin a completely unfinished game. And we're all just doing chores right now while we wait for new content. Right now, Genshin feels like an abusive significant other that makes you pull all of the weight in the relationship and then finds a threatening excuse to not let you leave. I want this entire video without talking about the pressure players get not to leave based on how much money they've invested. Anyways, if you disagree with my points in the video, you're probably thinking there's nothing stopping you from quitting, and you're right. But I don't want to quit the game. As I've stated before, I love this game, and at its core, it has the potential to be one of my favorite games of all time. I just want it to have acceptable systems and permanent content. I want to be able to play it at my own pace without missing out on resin-gated materials and without feeling super guilty about not using my resin in general, because to keep up with endgame, there is no quitting. Ultimately, I think the reason people are upset is because 1.6 doesn't do anything to address what we talked about. The new islands are going to be great for a couple days, and the Archon quest will be a nice one-shot, but outside of that, we're just waiting another 6 weeks for Inazuma, and then who knows what even happens when we get to Inazuma. Maybe we're waiting another 6 weeks, so I don't know. If you feel this way about Genshin, make sure to let me know in the comments below, and this is an open discussion. Obviously, I want to hear all of your opinions, and whatever you end up saying, whether you love the game and you think that I'm just slandering it with no purpose at all, or whether or not you completely agree, just let me know down in the comments below. I want to create an open discussion, and I'm completely open to all of your criticisms. I'm not quitting. I'm still making content on the game. I just think I'd like to try to enjoy it more, and right now I feel like I can't. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll catch you later.